Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Stefan Seguin, your sales coach. Today what I want to talk about is law of averages. And you might be asking, well, what that has to do with sales? It's a great question. Law of averages is basically how many clients you have to speak to, meet, in order to close deals and reach your targets. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, as I was working out, I was thinking about one of my clients who is struggling with their sales and he's getting discouraged. And he recently switched organizations, and normally, in the past places he's been, it hasn't been an issue. However, now there's some issues there where, he used to close anywhere between 30 and 40% on average. So for every 10 calls he would make or 10 meetings he would have, he would close anywhere between 3 to 4 clients. Now, that average has gone down drastically. He's now, on average doing 10 calls or 10 meetings, and he's closing 1 deal only. So, talking about this right now, you might say, well, there's a deeper root cause. And you're right, there is a deeper root cause. And I'm not going to get into that. That's subject for another video. However, law of averages is just that. It's the number of calls or contacts you make in order to close a sale. Now, some of you that are here maybe are way above that, and that's great. But for those of you who are new and are getting discouraged about, oh my God, how many calls do I need to make in order to get there, in order to meet my KPIs? Maybe it's to meet my revenue targets or my profit targets. So what I like to do, and I've used this in the past in my own professional career as a sales representative or account executive, has been to reverse engineer the whole process. And how do I do that? Well, basically, I look at, first of all, what's the end result? What's the end target? What's required, right? What are the KPIs, the minimum KPIs I need to meet? And then from there, what I do is, for example, let's say I need to hit $1 million a month. I then estimate, well, okay, how much do I need to sell per week? Now, to get to $1 million a month, roughly that's $250,000 a week, right? And how do I get to $250,000 a week? I reverse engineer that even further, where I'll say, okay, 7 days. Obviously, some of us may not work 7 days. Some of us do. Some of us just work 5 days, right? Depending on the opportunity, the sales job we have, and so on. So break it down even further, right? In terms of how much you have to sell per day, and then break it down even further. How much do you have to sell per hour? And all of a sudden you'll notice that when you do that, those water breaks, those long lunches, well, guess what? Maybe they're not going to be as long anymore, because when you're not there in front of your clients or making these calls, right? Remember what I talked about, the law of averages. If you're not booking, making, calling, contacting, reaching out, meeting these people, meeting your clients, talking about what's important for them, what their wants and needs are, well, that affects your daily routine. That affects your daily numbers. Now, when I started my career in IT, I was working distribution for a distributor, a computer distributor. Then what we used to do, and what my one of my territory sales managers had taught me, was to essentially break down my monthly sales to daily sales. And for example, let's say my average day, I needed to close $20,000 per day. If I only reached 10,000 that day, then guess what? The next day I would have to hit 30,000 in sales, right? Now, there's some days where I would hit 40, 50. Well, then what I would do is deduct that from the amount. And what it does, it keeps you focused, right? At the end of the day, that's what's so important. Staying focused. So, how do you stay focused and not discouraged, as you're going through that? And well, it's working through it. It's also looking at your calls, who you're speaking with. How are they engaging with you? How are you engaging with them? Are you able to determine what's important to them? Are you able to determine what their wants and needs are? And then based on that, follow through, right? Follow through in terms of how it's impacting them personally, how it's impacting their business, how it's impacting their employees, perhaps how it's impacting their community when they don't hit their numbers. So therefore, and this of course isn't a B2B setting when you're selling B2B, but the other, if you're selling business to consumer, it's how it's impacting them personally, how it's impacting their family, what their goals and dreams are. And what would it mean not having the opportunity to enjoy their dreams and reaching their goals. So that being said, it comes back to what I was saying before, and which is staying the course, right? Looking at the numbers, reverse engineer the numbers. And if you want to take it a step even further, and here's a great exercise for you to keep in mind, and I also used to do this in distribution, is how much do I have to sell hourly in order to reach my target? Now, that's another tip for you, is breaking it down hourly. Now, some of you might find this very stressful, and you might say, oh my God, it's too much for me to handle. Then break it down per day. But when you break it down like that, then you know exactly your frame of reference. You know exactly how much you need to sell. You know exactly how many calls you need to do. And then take it one more step. If your close rate is 10, right? If your close rate is 10%, that means that you need to make 10 calls in order to close one call. And when you close one call, let's say you get a sale, and that sale might be for, let's say, 10K. Well, if it is for 10K, how many of those deals do you need to close in order to get the number you want, right? So let's say you need to hit $1 million for your month, right? There's on average 20 days, working days. You need to hit 50K per day. So out of those 50K per day, break that down further by 8 hours, right? In a day. And let's just say a typical work day. Let's say it's 8 hours, right? So that's roughly, if you need to hit 50, that's a little bit around $6,500 an hour. An hour that you need to close to reach, your 50K a day. And then from there, how many calls do you need to make to close that one sale of $6,500 or more? Now, do you see, if you do that, how easier it is, how the breakdown, it's more palatable, it's easier, it's, you're not trying to bite off the entire elephant. You're basically taking away a small piece every single day, but you stay focused. You keep doing what you need to do. You stay targeted, and you take action every day. And at the same time, by doing that, you'll see exactly where you're investing your time and where you're spending your time. Big difference there. So obviously, to get the results you're looking for, you need to invest your time in the right places, which is dialing out, which is connecting with clients, which is building a pipeline, right? Adding deals to your pipeline, which is growing your customer base, right? Reserve a day during the week maybe 3 days during the week, where you're for 2 or 3 hours in the morning or the afternoon, you're reaching out to customers to make your contacts, to build your network of potential clients who can buy from you. Now, if you do that and you do this on a consistently in a consistent basis, and you focus on building bigger deals and being a better closer, well, then basically the world is your oyster. So if you found this helpful and you like the quality of the content that I'm sharing with you, do like and subscribe and share. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video.